Hey everybody, I'm Mike with MK Outdoor Journal, and this is The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second. So uncover your keyboard and fire up your fingers. It's time to join the conversation. Hey everybody, this is The Right of the People. It is March 14th, 2022, and it is a historic day for Buckeyes. We'll talk about that in a little bit. First, I would like to welcome my esteemed panel. As usual, we have the irascible yet lovable Squibload with us. How you doing, Squib?
Good evening, afternoon, evening.
And popping in for a rare appearance, we have Night Strike 1, a.k.a. the GunTube Guru. How are you, sir?
Are you sure esteemed is the right word?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, maybe steaming, I don't know.
I'm a little bit suspicious of that, but okay.
Aw. You're suspicious if someone holds you in esteem? That's sad. It's sad. And on that depressing note, I'd like to welcome all of you out there in the chat. We have Calaveras 32 Special out there. We have Artac and Daughters. We got, who else? Ohio Trucker 1. He's out there talking about the fact that our wonderful governor, Mike DeWine, actually signed constitutional carry into law today at 4:51 p.m. So, I would love to claim responsibility for that since, I put my video out today where I called the governor's office and everything, but, unfortunately, I live in reality and I know better.
No,
it's because of me. I'll take the credit.
Take the credit anyways. It's not like anybody's going to tell you otherwise.
Yeah, lots of people will.
You know what? Screw them. Don't listen to them.
Okay. Jason Stewart's out there, as is Tactical Flood. How you doing, Buck? Who else is in the house? Not a whole lot of other people. Well, when you do show up, sound off. If I see you, I'll say hi. If you disagree with anything that we talk about tonight, please sound off. All I ask is that you keep everything on topic and be polite. I'm okay with disagreement. I'm not okay with people being a dick just to be a dick. My mods will get rid of you, and if they don't, I will. So, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, yeah. Hey, we got lots to talk about today. Those of you who've watched the show for a while may remember us talking about the Ma'Khia Bryant shooting. That was a 16-year-old girl who was shot to death by a Columbus, Ohio police officer as she was attempting to stab another girl. There was controversy because, she's just a kid who was trying to kill another kid while her dad was kicking another girl who was down, who probably should have been ventilated but wasn't. Vanessa Kitty just showed up, as did Small Caliber Arms Review. Hello. Well, our Attorney General took that case to the grand jury and put it in the grand jury's hands as to whether or not there would be an indictment. And today, the grand jury said, sometime this week, the grand jury said, no. This is from 7 hours ago from the Police Tribune. A grand jury declined to bring charges against the Columbus police officer who shot 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant as she was attacking two people with a knife in April of 2021. The jury decided to return a no bill, which means they did not proceed with any criminal charges against Officer Reardon and found no criminal act, Columbus Fraternal Order of Police President Jeff Simpson said, according to WSYX. That is pleasing to hear, Simpson continued. It's always sad when there is a loss of life. However, the actions of the people at the scene caused him to take action that saved lives, and he is trained very well. He did his job, and it is a good outcome. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost released the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation's investigatory files on the incident to the public, WSYX reported. BCI was called to do a thorough, independent investigation of the facts, Yost said. I've asked for patience while promising transparency, and now is the appropriate time for that work to be made public. The incident began at approximately 4:32 p.m. on April 20th, 2021, when the Columbus Police Department received a report that females were at 3171 Legion Lane trying to stab them and put their hands on them, then CPD Interim Chief Michael Woods said during the press conference. The 911 dispatcher tried to gather information about any potential weapons that might have been involved, but was unable to get those answers amid the chaos in the background of the call, Chief Woods said. Officers arrived at the scene at 4:44 p.m., just 5 minutes after they were dispatched. Body cam footage showed Columbus Police Officer Nicholas Reardon approaching a group of people screaming at one another in the driveway of a residential area when a girl came running towards him. The girl, who was being chased by Bryant, tumbled to the ground at Officer Reardon's feet after the girl chasing her shoved or took a swing at her, the body cam showed. Chief Woods explained the attacker was trying to stab the girl who fell. Bryant then pivoted and went after another girl who was dressed in a pink jumpsuit, the video showed. "Hey, get down, get down," Officer Reardon ordered to no avail as a man appeared to kick the girl who had fallen to the ground. Bryant then swung a knife at the girl dressed in pink, who by that time was pinned against the hood of a car, the Columbus Dispatch reported. The officer discharged his weapon, hitting Bryant. A metallic sound could be heard as she fell to the ground and dropped an object onto the ground that appeared to be a knife, the video showed. The chaotic scene amped up further after the shooting as additional officers rushed in and bystanders began screaming at them. "She had a knife. She just ran at her," Officer Reardon told two of the witnesses, one of whom appeared to be the same man seen kicking the victim who had fallen to the ground right as the officer initially arrived. "She's a effing kid, man," the man screamed back at him. The teen who had been shot had rolled onto her back by that time, and an officer could be seen moving a knife from beside her and down towards her feet as he tended to her wounds, body cam footage showed. Bryant was rushed to Mount Carmel East Hospital, where she was pronounced dead at 5:21 p.m., the Columbus Dispatch reported. Although he has been cleared of criminal charges, Officer Reardon is still facing an internal investigation of his actions that day to determine whether he violated any CPD procedures or policies, WSYX reported. Columbus Mayor Andrew Ginther also promised an investigation into the foster care system that Bryant's family has said failed her, WBNS reported. "I'm grateful for the grand jury for their work and to BCI for their investigation," Ginther said in a statement. "The next step is an administrative investigation by CPD, and Franklin County continues to look into Ma'Khia Bryant's care in the foster system. In the end, none of that brings Ma'Khia back, and we must continue to lift up her family in our prayers." Bryant's family released a statement through their lawyers, WBNS reported. Ma'Khia Bryant's family is disappointed that a Franklin County grand jury declined to indict the officer who shot and killed her last year, Attorney Michelle Martin said. Ma'Khia's family has long wondered why this officer opted for lethal force, even though there should have been other non-deadly options available to deal with this situation. "We believe that the tragedy that ultimately resulted in Ma'Khia's death started long before she was shot and killed by a Columbus police officer," the statement continued. "There must be a full-scale changes made to Ohio's foster care system to ensure that this doesn't happen to another child. We need to work tirelessly to protect those who are most vulnerable in our society. Ohio's foster care system is failing our children, and we cannot stand by and allow this to continue." As the one-year anniversary of Ma'Khia's death approaches, her family is resolute in their fight for justice on her behalf, Martin added. Now, before you guys, I got to say this. I partially agree with Ma'Khia's family here. The tragedy that ultimately resulted in Ma'Khia's death did start long before she was shot and killed by a Columbus police officer. But that tragedy isn't to blame on the police officer. The grand jury did their job and followed the law when they came back with a no bill. So it's not on the grand jury. The responsibility isn't on the foster care system. You want to talk about care for children? You want to talk about failing that child? I'll tell you precisely upon whom the responsibility for this child's death lies. On her family. Not the system. Not the police. Not anybody but Ma'Khia Bryant and the decisions that she made. Why did Officer Reardon use deadly force? Because he was in a split-second decision with someone who was in mid-attempt to murder someone else. That officer had no choice but
He was using a deadly
to use
weapon.
deadly
What do you
force
expect?
at the time. No choice whatsoever. There were people that had choices, though, leading up to this. That was Ma'Khia, who chose to become involved in a physical altercation, who chose to draw a knife, who chose to pursue not one, but two people and tried to kill them. And there were choices made by her family that resulted in her ending up in foster care to begin with. So if you want to talk about negligence in the care of this child, look at yourselves. Because that's where the responsibility is. But God forbid someone take responsibility for their own actions. What do you guys think?
She had a deadly weapon, and she was using it against somebody. Why? Like, whenever you have a weapon and you're using it against someone, expect to get shot or shanked by somebody else. Honestly.
Especially if you're trying to kill them in front of a police officer who has a drawn gun.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're lucky if the least of your worries is you get tasered. At the worst, you get shot and killed. And hey, guess what? What is the old saying? You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Well, we got a winner right here.
Yep. Mike M. Gabriel says, I suggest trying not to knife anyone. It's probably a good plan.
Yeah. Well, there's also the other old adage, don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Very true. Gunpowder Beauty is in the house as well as M. Gabriel, and I think I saw Mike Warhorse showed up. Mountain View's here. Squib, do you have an opinion on this?
He said to the cop, she's just a kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Kid, child, use the terms interchangeably. If you are an adolescent, a child, a kid, young adult, you're under the legal age of adulthood, and you make an adult choice, then don't be surprised if you get an adult consequence.
Yep.
If somebody says it doesn't matter, they're a kid, they don't know any better, they don't this, they don't that. No. There are certain things where I think it could be judged either by a judge or a jury that this person made a bad choice because of their immaturity and that it was that alone. And then there's other situations where you could say it doesn't matter if they made it because of immaturity or because they knew damn well what they were doing. This is something that is not going to just be forgiven and swept under the rug. There are certain things that I think younger people should get somewhat of a pass, a slap on the wrist, a warning, a wake-up call, made an example of, not to ruin their life, right? That's why they have their records sealed and why after the age of 18, 19, 21 or whatever, they're released or whatever it is in certain circumstances. And there are other things. Yeah, there are other things where, no, this wasn't a petty crime. This wasn't shoplifting or something like that. This was murder or attempted murder. Like, what would they do if the cop said, holy crap, she might be underage? By the way, you can't always tell. She might be underage. I better not pull the trigger. And she killed this other person, severely maimed them for life, whatever. Would the cop be under investigation for failing to act? Would the police department and the cop be getting sued? Would the guy be going, hey, man, why didn't you stop her? She's just
Not
a
judging
kid.
by the results of the Parkland thing, but I digress.
So, yeah, I guess, but I'm just saying the alternative is that where are the parents of the kid that was getting attacked? Where are they?
I'm not sure.
Why aren't they
I
speaking
think
out
I
going,
think they were all in foster care.
oh, well, then if they were both the children under foster care of the same parents and they're going to pick sides, dude, that shows piss poor
Well,
parenting
no,
right there.
they were in a foster home and apparently different families.
Well, okay, so this is what I want to know. And maybe it's just because the news is shutting them out or they're choosing not to speak, which is lousy parenting. But they should be out there going, thank God for this cop. Thank God he saved our child's life. Yeah. This is just like when the other parents from one of these mass murders at a public school don't speak out and go, the inanimate object wasn't the problem. This psychopath was the problem. This evil person was the problem. The lack of security was the problem. The fact that I can't walk into the school and conceal carry a gun if I'm coming to see my kid at school, I could have been there to protect him, whatever. That's the problem. No, you don't hear it very often. And then, once again, it could just be the news censoring it. So I would just like to hear from the parents or foster parents of this other kid that was under attack. Why aren't they out there being vocal, defending Columbus police?
Yeah. Now, in my rant earlier, a few minutes ago, where I'm talking about the fact that the family of Ma'Khia Bryant bears responsibility for this, I really don't want to hear in the comments or anywhere else, well, they lost a child, you don't know what it's like. Because, yeah, I do. I know exactly what it's like. The difference being, this child died because of her own actions, her own choices, her own decisions to act in a manner that dictated that someone had to kill her. My kid died in a car accident. That's the difference. I understand the loss of a child and how horrible it feels. I do empathize with the family for that. But the fact is, as much as it hurts, you have to accept the fact that you bear responsibility, at least in part, for the road that took her there. Because if she wasn't in foster care, which means she was taken from your custody and placed there, none of this would have happened, would it? If she had been raised better and taught, stabbing people is bad, okay? She wouldn't have got shot trying to stab somebody. So I don't want to hear that shit. I know what it's like, and I know what I'm saying. Full well I know what I'm saying. So don't even go there. But there's that. Justice prevailed. Even though the officer has to face an internal investigation by CPD, I can only assume that that's a CYA measure by Columbus Police. Although, given that Columbus is Democrat-controlled and Ginther is a leftist Democrat, maybe it's a witch hunt to try to placate the mob, because there is a racial component that people have tried to make a big deal out of. She was African-American, and the cop that shot her was white. So I try not to delve into that subject, but it does play in here. And I think Ginther wants to, particularly given the events of 2020 and all the rioting and whatnot, I think Ginther wants to make sure that the mob is placated. So maybe
Is he up for re-election this year?
I don't know.
Because if he is, he could be trying to, keep people. Could. Yeah.
So we'll see how this plays out. But as far as criminal conduct goes, Officer Reardon was cleared, and I'm glad of that. In other news, constitutional carry is sweeping across the land. Right now, Indiana passed constitutional carry, even though this is, what the hell? This is not the article I bookmarked. What the hell? Come on. There we go. Indiana lawmakers passed bill to eliminate permits to carry handguns for Hoosiers 18 and older. From Caitlin Long in the Indianapolis Star, published March 8th. Amid a multi-state push from pro-gun groups, Indiana lawmakers approved a bill on Tuesday that would eliminate the license requirement to carry a handgun. The legislation split Senate Republicans as it moved through the legislative process. It now heads to Governor Eric Holcomb, a Republican, who finds himself in an interesting situation. If he vetoes the legislation, he risks being the sole politician to stand in the way of so-called constitutional carry, potentially angering the conservative wing of his party. If he signs the bill, he'll be going against the wishes of the head of the state police, Douglas Carter, who accused lawmakers of pandering to lobbyists and political posturing. Either outcome could have political ramifications for his future. So far, he hasn't indicated which way he'll swing. And if there have been any movements on this, please let me know in the comments or in the chat. I'd like to know if he signed this or vetoed it or made any indications since this was written. I didn't check up on this today. Under House Bill 1296, anyone who legally can carry a handgun now could do so without a permit moving forward. That includes Hoosiers 18 years and older. The bill would also elevate the theft of a firearm to a level 5 felony, meaning someone convicted would be imprisoned between 1 and 6 years and may be fined as much as $10,000. Already, lawmakers have made the permit free during a 2021 legislative session. Conservative groups in Indiana have pushed for similar legislation unsuccessfully since at least 2016. The language was originally in a different bill that was killed in the Indiana Senate earlier in session after the Senate Judiciary Committee voted to gut the bill. Lawmakers, though, had promised to strip language out of an unrelated bill and replace it with so-called no evidence of the journalist bias here, so-called constitutional carry, but where that language would land was unclear until the final day of session. It's not at all that uncommon of a procedure, but it made it challenging for a concerned Hoosiers to track and push back on the legislation. Before the strip and insert, House Bill 1296 was a medical claims bill. Democrats and even some Senate Republicans criticized the process during a Senate Rules Committee vote earlier Tuesday, typically a procedural step. Critics questioned why lawmakers ignored the work of the Senate Judiciary Committee and moved the language between bills multiple times. Because you guys were being obstructionist, maybe? I have serious misgivings
But isn't that always, they're always being obstructionists?
No. I have serious misgivings about the procedure, said Senator Sue Glick, Republican LaGrange, voting against the passing the bill out of committee. After her no vote, Bray took Glick out of the room into his office to explain his point of view on the Senate rules to her. When they returned, she changed her vote, saying lawmakers did follow the rules, even if the procedural process was messy. Likewise, Senator Michael Crider, Republican Greenfield, said the process has concerned him from the beginning. We have to do better in the future with these bills, Crider said. So far, 21 states have permitless carry, with others moving related bills now. And watch that language. Even in the permitless carry thing, it's an attempt to frame the debate away from it being constitutional. Even, unfortunately, in an article that we'll look at in a little bit, Buckeye Firearms Association fell prey to that one, the permitless carry thing. Words have meanings, folks, and I've said that before. We'll talk more about this in another video for sure. So, Hoosiers, you guys need to be calling your governor to get him to sign this crap, just like the governor of Alabama did. Because Alabama is the 22nd state to have constitutional carry. This is from FoxNews.com from, when was it? God dang it. From March 10th. Alabama Governor Ivey signs constitutional carry bill, repeals need for permit to carry concealed pistol. Other states, including Iowa and Texas, have implemented similar measures. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey has signed into law a bill which eliminates the requirement of residents in the state to obtain a permit in order to carry a concealed pistol. Unlike states who are doing everything in their power to make it harder for law-abiding citizens, Alabama is reaffirming our commitment to defending our Second Amendment rights, Ivey said in a statement after she signed the measure on Thursday. I have always stood up for the rights of law-abiding gun owners, and I am proud to do that again today. The measure, House Bill 272, was sponsored by Republican State Representative Shane Stringer and eliminates the need for gun owners in the state to obtain a permit from a county sheriff's office in order to legally carry a concealed firearm in the state. The legislation was passed last month by the Alabama House of Representatives, and a variation of the bill made its way successfully through the Senate last week. Stringer and Republican State Representative Andrew Sorrell, according to Alabama's Yellowhammer News, gained over 40 House co-sponsors for the measure. I am deeply thankful to my colleagues in the legislature for passing this constitutional carry measure, which allows Alabamians? I thought it was Alabamans. But anyway, I guess they would know, right? Alabamians to exercise their fundamental rights without first having to pay a gun tax in the form of permit fees, Stringer said, according to the outlet. Those who still wish to purchase a permit for reciprocity with other states or other reasons continue to retain that option under this law. Echoing her statement released through her office, Ivey celebrated the signing of the bill on Twitter, writing through her campaign's account, "Here in Alabama, we dare defend our rights, and we will always defend the right of Alabamians to keep and bear arms. Alabama free, Alabama strong." With Alabama included, there are now 22 constitutional carry states in America. Most recently, Iowa and Texas implemented similar measures. Last month, a Georgia Senate committee approved a bill that would allow gun owners to carry their firearms in public without a permit. But Georgia wasn't the only one who passed it, nor was Alabama the only one who signed it, because Ohio passed it through the House and the Senate. And today at 4:51 p.m., Governor DeWine actually signed it into law. I was starting to wonder because he was waiting for quite a while. This is from Buckeye Firearms Association, and here goes that language I dislike and disagree with. Ohio Governor DeWine signs BFA-supported permitless carry bill. 5:46 p.m., Monday, March 14, 2022. At approximately 4:50 p.m. on Monday, March 14, 2022, Governor Mike DeWine signed Senate Bill 215, which will make it legal to carry a concealed handgun without a license in Ohio 91 days after signing. This is a day that will go down in history, said Dean Reich, executive director of Buckeye Firearms Association. It has been about 18 years since Ohio enacted HB 12 to bring licensed concealed carry to the state. However, the brass ring has always been to eliminate the licensing mandate, which people refer to as permitless carry or constitutional carry. And now, finally, that day is here. This is a great moment for Ohio and for those who wish to more fully exercise their constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Governor DeWine made a campaign promise to Buckeye Firearms Association and to Ohio's 4 million gun owners that he would sign a constitutional carry bill if it was put on his desk. And he has fulfilled his promise. Senate Bill 215 makes several important changes to Ohio's concealed carry laws. Obtaining a concealed handgun license will become optional, so if you're able to legally carry a concealed handgun with a license, you will also be able to carry without a license. The same rights and responsibilities apply in either case. You will no longer have the duty to promptly, quote-unquote, notify every law enforcement officer during an official stop. Instead, you must disclose that you are carrying a concealed handgun only when an officer asks, unless you have already notified another officer. If you choose to obtain a concealed handgun license, you will no longer be required to carry the license on your person. Here are 2 references for further details on this new law. The text of the act as enrolled, and then as signed, and a summary and analysis by the Ohio Legislative Services Commission. It is important to note that SB 215 will not eliminate or change the current Ohio licensing system. Those who wish to obtain a license for carrying a concealed handgun in Ohio or in other states with reciprocity agreements may continue to do so. And as a complete aside, I will retain my concealed handgun license for that purpose of reciprocity plus the NICS check. In addition, whether you choose to carry with or without going through the licensing process, you must still be a qualifying adult, such as being at least 21 years of age, not prohibited from possessing a firearm under state or federal law, not a fugitive from justice, etc. Refer to the links above or the Attorney General's booklet on concealed carry. In addition to permitless carry, the numerous legal and legislative accomplishments of, well, then it goes on to pat themselves on the back. So let's take a look, because there's some question about whether or not this law applies to non-residents of Ohio. So in cases like this, I always recommend, well, let's go take a look at the law. So we're going to clicky on the linky and go to the text of the act as enrolled. And I think the key to this is in the definition of a qualifying person. So let's see. Qualifying adult means a person who is all of the following. This is on page 3, by the way. 21 years of age or older, not legally prohibited from possessing or receiving a firearm under 18 U.S.C. 922, and then it cites the codes for the U.S. Code and Ohio Revised Code. Satisfies all the criteria listed in divisions D1A to J, M, P, Q, and S of 2923.125 of the Revised Code, which we're going to look at that in a minute because that's important. Notwithstanding any other Revised Code section to the contrary. So, okay, in A, it talked about who a qualifying person was. Okay? So, let's take a look at section 2923.125 Ohio Revised Code. Let's copy this. Go over here. Go to Google. No, that's not what I want. It's 2923.125. Let's go to Ohio Revised Code. 2923.125. So, what are we looking for again? We are looking for Division D, 1, A through J. So let's take a look at A through J. Bear with me, folks. I know, but this is important. Come on. D. Except as provided in this within 45 days after receipt. So this, the applicant has been a resident of this state for at least 45 days and a resident of the county in which the person seeks a license or county adjacent to the county in which a person seeks the license for at least 30 days. So actually, no, reading this, you must be a resident because that's the first D1A. The applicant has been a resident of this state for at least 45 days and a resident of the county in which the person seeks the license or a county adjacent to. So it specifically says you have to have been a resident of the state.
So it's not constitutional carry. It really is permitless carry.
You're right. It really is permitless carry. It's not constitutional carry. Because, yeah,
that won't
D1A. So, yeah. Apparently, you must be a resident of the state.
That won't stop me from coming across the border to hang out in Ohio. I like it down there.
Hey, you can open carry here. Anyone can open carry.
I have. It's a good feeling. But feelings aren't important. Facts are. And the fact is, if I wanted to conceal carry legally there, I would have to go back and get my Michigan permit all over again because we have reciprocity.
Now, this is the 2006 Ohio Revised Code. Let me see if I can find a newer. Let me go to codes.ohio.gov. So that's 2006. Let's see if we can find a newer. So this is actually the Ohio Laws Administrative Rules, not Justia. So let's see, it's 2923.125. So let's see, ABC. Okay, D. So this is the newest one. So, A, applicant. See, now this is different. I'm glad I looked. So, the applicant is legally living in the United States for purposes Division D1. If a person is absent from the United States in compliance with military and naval orders, and talks about being a member of the armed services. So, that's a change from the one I just read, right? So there's A. B, 21 years of age. C, not a fugitive from justice. D, not under indictment or charged with a felony. Except as otherwise, the applicant has not been convicted or pleaded guilty to a felony or another offense that it mentions. Not been convicted or pleaded guilty of a misdemeanor offense of violence. Pleaded guilty to or adjudicated delinquent child for committing 2 or more violations of those sections of the revised code. Has not been convicted of or pleaded guilty to or adjudicated delinquent for committing a violation of 2921.33. Let's see, what are the ones? Let's see, it's A through J. So it skips K, not currently under a civil protection order. So it skips, it goes to M. Currently not subject to a suspension imposed under, so you can't have a concealed handgun license suspended. It skips N, which talks about residency. If the applicant resides in another state, the applicant is employed in this state. It skips that. That's important. So goes to P, which says not a United States citizen, the applicant is an alien and has not been admitted to the United States under a non-immigrant visa. Let's see, N, P, let's look at Q and then S. Has not been discharged from the armed forces under a dishonorable condition and has not been convicted of, pleaded guilty to, or adjudicated delinquent for committing a violation of the revised 291925, which I can tell you is domestic violence of the revised code, or a similar violation of another state. So it actually doesn't say that you have to be a resident of the state of Ohio. Therefore, you don't have to be a resident of the state of Ohio. So it is a constitutional carry bill. I thought I was right. That first section of the revised code I read was an old one from 2006. Does not apply. This is the newest version, the most current version. And, well, except for the changes that go into effect in 91 days. And this is what applies. So you do not have to be a resident of the state of Ohio. Anyone can carry without a permit in the state of Ohio as long as they're legally able to carry a firearm under Ohio's laws.
Now, you see, those changes were made since 2006. There's evidence right there that this is incremental. All these people go, oh, we lose all of our rights, we never get anything back. Blah, 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 blah. They're always taking the cake, all that other garbage. Here is evidence that we get it back incrementally.
Yeah.
But it's only if you stay in the fight. If you decide to just, throw your hands in the air and walk away from it, which is real easy to do. I've wanted to do it before. Then you're not helping. It's a long game. It's a patient game. Well, we've waited so long. We've waited too long. Really? I bet you I've been waiting a lot longer than some of you out there that are out there belly aching. This is good news. This is good news. And I'm glad that you went back and researched that to get more up-to-date facts.
Yeah.
That was very helpful. Thank you.
Well, I want to be accurate because I knew reading that Justia piece on that, I knew something was wrong because I had read the original on my other laptop, and I'm like, well, that doesn't sound right. No. Let me go and see what it actually is. I need to find the actual Ohio ORCs. So I'm glad I did that. So there you go, folks. I'm not a lawyer. That's my brother. By the way, if you're in Stark County, Ohio this fall, vote for Matt Kreitzer for Stark County Family Court Judge. There you go. Anyhow, I'm not a lawyer, but according to my reading of it, you do not have to be an Ohio resident to carry concealed without a permit in Ohio. So, awesome. Let's pat ourselves on the back. Woo! yay. And now we need to be contacting everybody about knife preemption because our knife laws are ridiculous. We got this great law that says, knife is no longer considered a weapon. It's considered a tool unless it's used as a weapon. But we don't have preemption, so places like Cleveland, Columbus, Dayton, Cincinnati can say, yeah, no, it's a felony. And it's bullshit. We need to fix that. Yes, Nebraska is working towards this now. So if you are a Nebraskan, get on the phone. Get to calling them. Constitutional carry is sweeping the land, and that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I'm glad to see it. Hopefully we can someday get all 50 states to do it, and hopefully, well, then we won't need national reciprocity, will we? We still have a lot of work to do, though, because, yeah, we have people who are supposed to be on our side who ain't. This is a piece from Ammoland by John Crump. Under cover of darkness, U.S. Senate passes new gun control laws. Gun control has been signed into law by President Biden with the support of turncoat Republicans. In the middle of the night, the U.S. Senate passed the Violence Against Women Act Reauthorization Act of 2022, VAWA. Some gun rights groups raised alarm bells when this act passed the U.S. House of Representatives last year with Republican support. Some Republicans, well, that's a very, John, really? Some Republicans claimed the anti-gun provisions would be removed. Democrats and Republicans, led by Senator Joni Ernst, negotiated the bill's anti-gun provisions. Republican politicians who previously vowed never to vote for the bill unless the anti-gun provisions were removed voted yes with those anti-gun provisions fully intact. The following Republicans voted for this: Barrasso, Republican, Wyoming; Blunt, Republican, Missouri; Capito, Republican, West Virginia; Collins, Republican, Maine; Cornyn, Republican, Texas; Ernst, Republican, Iowa; Graham, Republican, South Carolina; Grassley, Republican, Iowa; Hyde-Smith, Republican, Mississippi; McConnell, Republican, Kentucky; Moran, Republican, Kansas; Murkowski, Republican, Alaska; Portman, Republican, Ohio; Shelby, Republican, Alabama; Thune, Republican, South Dakota; Tuberville, Republican, Alabama; Wicker, Republican, Mississippi; Young, Republican, Indiana. Too bad Portman's decided not to run for re-election because he wouldn't win this next one. That wouldn't go well here in Ohio, the fact that he did this. Prominently among those... Go ahead.
Anybody out there listening, whether it's live or on playback, if you're from this state and this person is in the district that you poll in, and they are running for re-election, or they're running in the primary, vote them out. Vote them out. I don't care if you got to vote independent, which is not always the smartest move, or maybe for somebody out there in the primary who doesn't really have much of a track record, so you don't have a lot to go on. These people have shown their true colors.
Yep.
Vote them out. I'm not saying to vote for somebody who's worse. I understand if you've got your arm behind your back and you're stuck with the lesser than two evil, and then you end up voting for them again. I get it. We've been there. We've all been there. We've all been there. And I'm not always supportive of voting for an independent either. That's a judgment call. I know I said, maybe vote for an independent. But that might be a better option, or that might send a message. That might send a message. If this person has a really good chance of winning, but an independent got more votes than ever before, then again, they might just be your typical politician and ignore that and go, who cares, I won. But these people need to be sent a message that we sent them to Washington to work for us, not for the lobbyists.
Yep. The article goes on to say, prominently among those Republicans to betray the Second Amendment was Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. Senator Hyde-Smith had previously released a statement to AmmoLand News that she would never vote for the bill in its anti-gun version. The previous statement was given to AmmoLand News after receiving a tip that Senator Hyde-Smith was open to the bill with the anti-gun provisions intact. April 14, 2022, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith provided this statement to explain her vote for VAWA. Senator Hyde-Smith's position on the Second Amendment has not changed. The underlying measure placed before the Senate was one to keep the government operating and help the people of Ukraine fight an unhinged foreign dictator. Senator Hyde-Smith does not support the mentioned VAWA provisions and will continue to fight to protect Second Amendment rights. I digress here by saying that if she were wanting to fight for Second Amendment rights and did not support the VAWA language and provisions, then she should have voted against the fucking bill. Pardon my language.
Oh, no, dragging the Ukrainians into this.
Yeah. NICS Denial Notification Act. The bill includes the NICS Denial Notification Act. This provision will require the criminal investigation of all National Instant Criminal Background Check System denials. The vast majority of NICS denials are false. The bill's passage means that thousands of law-abiding Americans will be subject to criminal investigation due to a mistake in a flawed government database. Guilty until proven innocent.
No. I disagree with that. You're not guilty until proven innocent. You're being investigated. People tend to interpret that as they're going to come to your house, arrest you, tase you, throw you to the ground, drag all your guns out. You're never going to see them again. You're going to go to jail. You're going to spend thousands on a lawyer. You're going to be, lose everything. And then in the end, they're going to go, oh, our mistake. That's not necessarily what an investigation is.
True.
How this is an opportunity to show how many people get falsely denied and how NICS doesn't work. If they really want to fix NICS, if we really want some evidence, then it might take law enforcement getting bogged down with BS investigations. It might take some of this getting out there as public knowledge that your constitutional right is being denied to you because of a typographical error in the government. But there are things that people do, and I'm not saying this is the case every time there's a denial. There are things that people do when they fill out a 4473 for their NICS check that doesn't help, like when they don't put their social security number down there, or if they have a common name like John Smith, why they don't get a U pin, or things like that. So there are things that you can do, and I'm not saying this is right or this is fair or that I agree with it, but how many times do people do these things, they get denied? I don't want to hear this, oh, criminals know that they're going to get denied so they don't try. There are plenty of criminals, I'm sure, that try to get one passed, because in the same sense the government's going to screw it up for the good guy, they're going to screw it up for the bad guy. How many times are we going to, how often are we going to let this happen where there's no follow-up when the bad guy really does try to break the law? So if this proves that good guys are being falsely accused, and that's it, just accused, they're not having their lives wrecked, I've been investigated, okay, by Child Protective Services. They didn't arrest me. I wasn't hauled out and, at work, and I didn't lose my job or my marriage or be put in a holding cell or any of that. It was BS. Believe me, if you think I don't understand, I understand a lot better than what some people think. It was unfair. It was false accusations, and there was no repercussions for the other person. Why don't we use this and use it against the government to say these NICS checks are bullshit because supposedly 100,000 good guys a year get denied? Really? Out of all the gun owners, millions of gun owners, people going and making purchases every day, that seems like an awful high number of strictly good guys, and I'm not ready to get behind those numbers until I see more evidence. So I'm not saying it's a good thing that this is passed. It's bullshit that it's passed, but let's use it the way we were able to use the 94 law. All those numbers from the FBI prove that law was BS, and that any ban like that in the future will do nothing except restrict our constitutional rights. So let's flip this around and use it against them.
Another provision in the bill will allow the deputization of local law enforcement by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. The provision is a direct attack against states with Second Amendment protection acts. Those bills prevent state and local law enforcement from enforcing federal gun control, but since VAWA allows for the deputization of local law enforcement, that means the federal government can restore the power of local police to enforce federal gun laws by making them agents of ATF. The bill also includes funds for gun violence research. Federal research into gun violence has always been flawed in the past. Instead of using evidence-based science to come to a conclusion, the government has been caught using a predetermined result. The federal agency would decide on a conclusion they wanted first and work backward by using evidence to back up their opinion while ignoring evidence contradicting their stance. The practice was highlighted by whistleblower Dr. Miguel Feria, whose testimony in front of Congress ended funding for gun violence research by the Center for Disease Control. While most gun rights groups have been fighting against VAWA's gun control provisions, there have been rumblings that the NRA lobbyists told senators that the powerful gun group was neutral on the bill, giving those senators a green light to vote for VAWA. This information was given to AmmoLand News by multiple congressional staffers on the Hill. AmmoLand News has been working to confirm or dispel the rumor with NRA-ILA, but so far the NRA has yet to provide a clear statement. So, yeah. I heard somebody join in. Who do we got here? Who do we got? It's the Pickle.
No.
How you doing?
Doing all right. Got off work just a couple minutes early. Figured I'd jump into the tail end of the show.
Woohoo! Glad to have you here, brother. Any thoughts on anything we talked about? I know that you have been out there in the chat.
That's for beyond the constitutional carry, conversation, which I think I voiced my opinion in the chat. I didn't catch enough of what you're currently talking about to say anything, tangible.
Okay. Sounds good. There is some good legislation being introduced. Probably will go nowhere.
No.
Probably will go nowhere, but hey, we'll take a look at it just because it is out there. And that's this piece in Breitbart. Excuse me. GOP reps, primary Republicans who won't oppose gun registry. On Tuesday, Representatives Lauren Boebert, Republican Texas, Chip Roy, Republican Texas, Michael Cloud, Republican Texas, and others called on voters to primary Republicans who refused to take a stand against the ATF's de facto gun registry. Breitbart News reported on Representative Cloud's No Registry Rights Act on Tuesday, which I think I skipped one of my stories, doggone it. I'm trying to get this done. Yeah, matter of fact, here we go back to this. We're going to talk about the Breitbart's piece on this. Michael Cloud introduces bill to force ATF to erase all firearm transaction records. Michael Cloud, Republican Texas, is introducing legislation to require the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives to erase all firearm transaction data it has accumulated. Cloud's aim is to prevent the ATF from developing a de facto gun registry on Americans. On February 1st, 2022, Breitbart News pointed to a report claiming the ATF had stockpiled over 900 million records related to firearm purchases and transfers. The report, published by the Washington Free Beacon, claimed the ATF disclosed to lawmakers that it manages a database of 920,664,765 firearm purchase records, including both digital and hard copy versions of those transactions. Representative Cloud is now introducing the No Registry Rights Act to stop the ATF from accumulating records and to require the agency to destroy records it has already acquired. Cloud's bill would also require retiring federal firearms license holders to destroy their transaction information, ensuring that the ATF cannot get it. Cloud's office told Breitbart News the No Registry Rights Act is endorsed by the House Second Amendment Caucus led by Chairman Thomas Massie and co-chair Lauren Boebert, noting that Cloud's bill is the first piece of legislation they've pushed as a caucus. So, I'll go on record here saying this is an awesome suggestion. It is an awesome sentiment. It is an awesome thought. It has no way in hell of passing through Congress right now. None. But I think that there are some Republicans who get it and have the right idea because, as the story I started to read says, They're urging you to primary the Republicans who won't oppose gun registry. On Tuesday, Lauren Boebert, Chip Roy, Michael Cloud, and others called on voters to primary Republicans who refuse to take a stand against the ATF's de facto registry. Cloud's goal is to undo the ATF's de facto registry. The Cloud's efforts are supported by Boebert and Roy, as well as Massey and Good. During a press conference about opposing ATF registry efforts, Breitbart's Matt Purdy asked the GOP representatives about Republicans who are not taking a stand against the registry. Purdy asked, "I think there are a lot of American conservatives out there who would like to know why there are Republicans who have weak knees with a bill like this. That would keep a firearms registry from happening in the federal government. What incentives do those Republicans have?" Good responded by calling on voters to primary every Republican who refuses to oppose the registry. But, don't take it from me. Let's go ahead and watch this video of this.
I would like to know, I think a lot of American conservatives out there would like to know why there are Republicans who have weak knees with a bill like this that would keep a firearms registry from happening in the federal government. What incentives do these Republicans have?
Well, I would hope that every Republican signs on to this. And Michael Cloud, Congressman, have you had conversations with folks that maybe are hesitant on this?
We've certainly been circling the bill, and already we have almost 50 co-sponsors on it, so it's getting a lot of support. You would have to ask the members who you would question to find out whatever motivation there is. Obviously, I think the federal government and the alphabet soup of agencies has proven that they do need to be held in check. And it's our job to represent the people, not to represent the government. We're here to represent the people and to ensure their liberties, and that's what this bill is all about.
The argument that they'll make, that some conservatives will make against this bill, is that we need this database to solve crime, to crack down on criminals. But the reality is the criminals have stolen their guns. They're not in this registry. And it's almost, it's a very rare event that they go back into the records that they have and actually solve any kind of crime. It just doesn't happen. And it certainly doesn't happen if they're trying to keep a registry of guns that were purchased 20 years ago. That data is useless to anybody except for those who would confiscate these guns. But that's one of the excuses that they'll hide behind.
So what Massey just said there, I love that you know what, criminals are stealing their guns. They're not in this registry, and it's absolutely useless for what they're going to say. They need it for fighting crime. Let's continue.
I'll add one more thing to that real quick. Case in point, I will read to you a sentence from the ATF that they sent in response to us. And this is what they said. They said, basically, the ATF has no ability to determine the successful prosecutions of hundreds of thousands of crime gun traces it completes annually.
Basically, the ATF just admitted that crime gun traces aren't working. They're useless.
So that's from the ATF. They're telling us that they have no way to prove that there's any law enforcement value whatsoever.
No way to prove there's any law enforcement.
I have an answer for you for Republicans who won't.
And here's the good part. It's awesome. I have an answer for Republicans who won't support this.
Support the Second Amendment, won't support this legislation. Don't vote for them.
Yeah.
Don't give them money. Do primary them.
Don't vote for them. Don't give
Yes,
them money.
I think we've all seen
Do
that
primary
for far too many Republicans that our stands for rollover. Elections have consequences, and we need to be smart about who we are electing.
Elections have consequences, and we need to be smart about who we're electing. So that's awesome. Yeah, Bobo, we already talked about this earlier. Constitutional carry is signed by the governor in Ohio. It's outstanding. So there you go, folks. There is at least one Republican, and the other is just kind of, hey, look at me, I'm gonna say shit. Yay! Let me bang on the drum. There's at least one Republican who has the answer. They don't want to support this? Vote their asses out. And I think that is great.
I do have to, ask though, is this, they know for a fact there's no way this can pass. Are they honestly doing this because they believe it, or are they trying to, hype up for themselves for their own primaries?
Yes.
When last time they had, I don't know if this guy was in or not, but from my understanding, the gal was relatively new. but that's for when the Republicans held the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They didn't do squat firearms related. So they waited until they knew it would die before they would submit anything.
I don't know. What do you other guys think?
I agree. They're trying to use this to promote themselves. However, there is an added benefit, and that is how many forms of anti-Second Amendment legislation have gone through and failed and gone through and failed and like on a 15th try, it finally catches. Same thing with things like constitutional carry, right? Things that work in our favor. How many times have they gone through and got shot down? So if this is the start, then there's potential there. If they do this every year until it passes, I say go with it. If they just do it once, it proves exactly what Calaveras was saying, that they're just playing us.
Night Strike, do you have an opinion?
Yeah, on this, I won't say they aren't trying to beat their own drum to try and get reelected and make all political for their benefit. I'll give you that. But again, you also have to look at it from the reverse. They're also doing this so that you get representatives that actually represent you and actually uphold the Constitution, instead of representatives that do not uphold the Constitution and actively promote and put bills against it, yet still remain in office and aren't called out for violating their oath of office. There we go.
Well, see, I think this is virtue signaling, but it's virtue signaling with a point. This is what the other people should be doing. And the congressman who said vote their asses out is absolutely right. As a matter of fact, if someone isn't representing your interests and doesn't support the Second Amendment, it's absolutely stupid not to vote them out. Speaking of absolutely stupid.
And now prepare yourself for another tale of stupidity in this episode of Moron of the Week.
First up in Moron of the Week, this is a piece from Breitbart. Ohio sheriff opposes exercise of Second Amendment without a permit. It's from March 8th. Hamilton County, Ohio Sheriff Charmaine McGuffey opposes Ohio residents being able to exercise the Second Amendment right to bear arms without first acquiring a permit from the government. McGuffey's opposition comes as legislation to remove the permit requirement for concealed carry has made its way to Governor Mike DeWine's desk and was signed today at 4:50 p.m. On March 3rd, 2020, Breitbart News reported constitutional carry legislation was headed to DeWine's desk, giving Ohio the opportunity to become the 22nd, well, since DeWine pissed around, now the 23rd constitutional carry state. The Hill reports that Sheriff McGuffey is opposed to the move. She suggests constitutional carry will lead to vigilantism and greater challenges in reducing gun crime. It is going to promote lawlessness. I think that there will be people who carry weapons concealed for the purpose of being vigilantes. I think that it is not very well thought out for very high populated counties such as Hamilton County. To vote for people to be able to concealed carry without a license, without any training, without any documentation, it makes it exponentially harder for law enforcement to prevent gun crimes. Name one crime that law enforcement has ever fucking prevented. Law enforcement
Mike, I gotta
is
jump
there
in here
to pick up the pieces and take a report after it happens. Yeah, go ahead.
If she was doing her job properly and had enough funding and didn't go along with the defund the police, then we wouldn't need vigilantism, would we?
Well, there is that. Her county is heavily Democrat controlled, and of course, she's one of them. So
there you go.
And the people that are willing to step outside the law to vigilantism, how many of them are going to freaking care about permits? If they're going to do that kind of stuff, they're going to do it regardless of permits or constitutional carry.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the point. But as Mike said, that they're Democrats and she's a Democrat, and they don't use actual common sense. They use this pseudo common sense that you have to go through 7 different levels of geometry and trigonometry to make it work.
I know, Mike. My language, my bad. I just get riled up over this garbage. So, Sheriff Charmaine McGuffey. Silly Sheriff, you are contestant number 1 and moron of the week. But wait, there's more. There's more. Because this other Democrat here said some really stupid stuff too. This is from Mom at Arms. Democrat Nebraska Senator. Owning guns is for slave owners and women haters. This is from 3 days ago. Senator Megan Hunt. Funny what that rhymes with. Owning a gun isn't a God-given right. It's a slave-owning, misogynistic, founding father-given right. I'm not against 2A, lie, but be real. The Constitution was written by people. Today I'm filibustering a bill that would allow concealed carry without training or a permit. Yet another fine politician who is intelligent, well-spoken, and level-headed, who is endorsed by Moms Demand Action, who thinks paying fees makes people safer. All about how she's received the endorsement of Moms Demand Action and whatnot.
You can't be for the Second Amendment and support Moms Demand Action.
No,
I'm
you
sorry.
can't.
And again, she spoke, as I go on about this all the damn time, but she spoke an oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution, and honestly, she's violating that oath by saying this.
Oh, and the senator is obviously not paying attention to the shifting demographics of gun ownership. Are black women slave owners and misogynists? This is from thecut.com. In recent years, story after story has furthered the narrative that black women are the fastest growing group of gun owners in the country. While there are some surveys and recent academic research to support this assertion, conclusive evidence remains elusive. Yet the narrative rings true to many black gun owners, including many of the more than a dozen interviewed for this story. It's also supported by the gender breakdown of the more than 40,000 members of the National African American Gun Association, a majority of whom are female. So there we go, folks.
If I can add one more thing about this particular moron, in the I believe it was middle of last week at the Nebraska State House, she said publicly on hot mic that all of the members of the National Nebraska Firearms Association, NFOA, bunch of white supremacists, even though my understanding, the founder and the head of it is actually not a white guy.
So Senator Megan Hunt, stupid senator, you are contestant number 2 in Moron of the Week. So those of you out there in the chat, you know what to do. Give us a vote. Should it be silly sheriff or stupid senator who is moron of the week in our poll? Which
we can't have Joe Biden be the third.
No, I'm tired of him always winning.
All right.
So Night Strike, who do you vote for? Silly sheriff or stupid senator?
The senator.
Pickle, who's your take on this?
I mean, I can't vote for them both because they're both, pretty well equally brain dead.
Nope. Gotta pick one.
I guess I'll vote senator.
Squidward?
Well, I'd like to lump this Ohio sheriff in with the Indiana State Police, and I do believe NWA has a song about them.
Oh!
Probably shouldn't do the lyrics here on this show, though. And as much as I'd like to vote for the Ohio sheriff, I'm going to go with stupid senator.
There you go. Right now, with 6 votes, it's a tie out there. 50-50. Up, just broke it. 7 votes. We got 4-3. Stupid senator over silly sheriff. Give us a vote. Tell me what you think. If you're watching this in a replay or coming over to comment from the podcast, let me know in the comments below. Out there, we got New York Outcast says number 2. Patriot in the Dark says, I told you. Number 2. Silly sheriff because of the governor signing the Ohio bill despite her damned whining. Wah, 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 wah.
Damn de-whining?
Her
Wow, that was good, Squib. That was good.
Clint Torres says number 2. Mike Warhorse says both are a mess, but the second is a level or 2 above. Right now with 8 votes, 62% stupid senator, 38% silly sheriff. We got 14 people out there watching. Let's get some more votes in here. We aim for 100% voter turnout for this this election every week, folks. Come on.
That senator's name was Megan C. Hunt.
Megan Hunt, anyway. 9 votes, and stupid senator is still in the lead.
And remember, these polls aren't rigged.
That's right. We are not using Dominion machines here.
No, we are not.
Certified Dominion free.
All right.
Patriot says senators are more dangerous. Yes, they are. Unless you happen to live in that sheriff's county, in which case then the sheriff is far more dangerous because they're right next door. So far, 9 votes, 44% sheriff, 56% senator. Get 16 people out there. Let's get some more votes in here, folks. Come on, man.
I think this might be the first time the entire panel will happen to be unanimous on moron.
No, there's been a couple times. There's been a couple.
60%, 40%, 10 votes. So 6 to senator, 4 to, nope, and 7 to senator and 4 to sheriff. With 11 votes now.
It's a tough race.
Yep. It's about to come to an end, though. Because, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and call this for stupid senator. Senator Hunt. You are the moron of the week.
And there we had another tale of stupidity in this week's episode of Moron of the Week.
All right, folks. Those of you who've been here before, you know what time it is. It is time for Roll Call 219's favorite segment, the self-defense shoutouts.
Yay!
For those
Hold
of
on,
you,
I got it.
For those who have never stuck around to the end or haven't been here before, self-defense shoutouts are not where I'm reveling in the proposition that the bad guy won the room temperature challenge by taking a dirt nap. It's instead where I'm reveling in the proposition that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity to keep the bad guy from making him do that very thing. First up is this piece from PNJ.com. Fatal shooting in Northwest Pensacola was clear stand your ground case. Investigators have determined a fatal shooting that occurred Wednesday evening was an incident of self-defense during an altercation between family members. Escambia County Sheriff's Office deputies responded to a residence in the area of Quiet Oak Lane and Interstate Circle at 6:41 p.m. Wednesday in Northwest Pensacola. Commander Andrew Hobbs said two adult male relatives got into a verbal altercation that escalated when one man, the larger of the two, physically attacked his relative by choking and beating him. Hobbs said the man who was being attacked fired shots at the other man to get him to stop the attack. The man was shot several times in both legs during the altercation. Once the larger man stopped fighting, the shooter immediately called 911 and started rendering medical aid, Hobbs said. Deputies found the shooter was still trying to save his relative's life when they arrived, but the man died from multiple gunshot wounds. Hobbs said other family members were home and witnessed the entire incident, which investigators determined was a clear case of self-defense. The shooter had no prior history with law enforcement and will not be charged in this case. It's sad that it had to be a family member, but I'm glad that you didn't allow him to choke you to death. Next up, speaking of domestics, 2 women, man shot in domestic shootout in South Nashville. This is from NewsChannel5.com from March 10th. Nashville, Tennessee, WTVF. A man, his girlfriend, and another woman are all wounded after the man and girlfriend shot at each other during an argument in South Nashville late Wednesday night, according to Metro Police. The shootout happened at an apartment in the 1900 block of Zermatt Avenue at 11:45 p.m. As officers from MNPD's Midtown Hills precinct responded to that area, officers from MNPD's South precinct responded to the Waffle House in the 14,000 block of Old Hickory Boulevard, where the two women had driven for help. The man, Terrell Lewis, 40, had already driven himself to General Hospital, but was taken to Vanderbilt Medical Center from there. MNPD investigation has revealed that Lewis's girlfriend had returned to the couple's Zermatt Avenue apartment to get her belongings and their 3 children, who are 6, 2, and 1. Lewis had assaulted her earlier in the day. Another woman was with Lewis's girlfriend to offer her support. Lewis argued with his girlfriend, allegedly threatening and hitting her. Lewis's girlfriend reported to MNPD that when she saw that Lewis was armed, she armed herself with a handgun, at which point the couple shot at each other. Lewis's girlfriend was struck in the upper left chest. The other woman was shot in the shoulder. Lewis is still hospitalized with his wounds. None of the gunshot wounds from this shootout are life-threatening. The couple's 3 children were all home at the time of the shooting. However, none of them were hurt. Lewis will be charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault, reckless endangerment, and felon in possession of a handgun. He has prior felony drug and weapon possession convictions. He will also be charged on an outstanding domestic violence warrant for an assault that took place on February 11th. So I'm glad she had the ability to defend herself from what is apparently a domestic abuser. Next up, from KMOV.com, woman shot man who assaulted and chased her, police say. This is from March 10th. St. Louis, KMOV. A woman shot a man who assaulted and chased after her Wednesday afternoon, according to police. According to St. Louis City Police, a woman was coerced into saying a man was shot during a robbery over shoes in Moline Acres. She later told officers the man demanded she make up the story to hide the actual events that transpired. The woman then said the incident began with an argument that included the man physically assaulting her in Alton. When the duo drove to the area of Cary and North Broadway in St. Louis, she said she ran from the car and the man ran after her. When the man got close to her and attempted to hit her, she shot him. The woman suffered facial injuries during the assault. The man's condition was not released. Next up, Dayton Daily News. Man shot in arm breaking into ex's bedroom window, police say. A Dayton man was shot early Thursday after police say he broke into his ex-girlfriend's house through a second-story bedroom window. Devon Lamont Wilkerson, Sr., 37, was arraigned Thursday in Dayton Municipal Court for burglary and violating a protection order while committing a felony offense. What? He had a protection order? Well, hell, he should have been nowhere around there. What? This should have never happened. How could it possibly have happened? This must be fake news. Dayton police were called just before 2:30 a.m. to the 50 block of Connect Drive after a woman said she and her daughter were upstairs in bed when they heard movement on the roof and outside her bedroom window on the second story, according to an affidavit. The woman stated she obtained a gun and backed away from her bedroom window. She observed a figure open her bedroom window and climb inside her residence, which is when she shot him, the affidavit stated. The suspect then ran out of her room and house, and as he was running away, the woman said she recognized him as Wilkerson, her ex-boyfriend, according to court documents. Dayton police and medics also responded around 2:45 p.m. to a gunshot victim in the 3500 block of Merrimack Avenue. The person with the gunshot wound to the arm was not cooperating with police and had been shot elsewhere, according to the Montgomery County Regional Dispatch Center. A police incident report indicates that Wilkerson was arrested in the 3500 block of Merrimack Avenue and was treated and released from a local hospital. He's held in the Montgomery County Jail. Next up, Wichita man from WIBW. Wichita man shoots thief attempting to steal catalytic converter. From March 10th. March 10th was a very eventful day, apparently. Wichita police officers responded to a shooting around 3:30 Thursday morning in the 400 block of South Walnut after multiple 911 callers reported hearing gunshots in the area. Another caller reported a suspect breaking into the caller's car armed with a knife before being shot by the caller's husband. Officers found a 41-year-old man with a non-life-threatening gunshot wound at the scene. He was taken to a hospital for treatment. Officers contacted a 29-year-old man who reported hearing noises outside his house and seeing the 41-year-old underneath his truck. The 29-year-old said he retrieved a handgun and approached the suspect, who got up from under the truck with what the resident reported to be a cordless saw. The resident said he shot the 41-year-old man after the suspect approached him. Police say it appears the suspect was trying to take the catalytic converter. Police say the suspect was shot once in the lower body. As of 10 a.m. Thursday, he remains hospitalized. The investigation is ongoing. And last, but most certainly not least, from home.chicagopolice.org, 3100 block of South Keeler on March 12th, 22nd, at approximately 5:52 a.m., 10th District. In the 3100 block of South Keeler, a male victim was traveling eastbound inside his vehicle when unknown offenders from a gray SUV fired shots at him. The vehicle stopped in the 3100 block of South Hamlin, and an exchange of gunfire ensued. Responding officers were able to place 2 offenders into custody, and a weapon was recovered. The victim was not reported injured, and one of the 2 offenders was transported to Sinai with a graze wound to his back in stable condition. Detectives are investigating, and charges are pending. Sounds like a case of road rage to me. But that's it, folks. A whole ton of, and most of them this time being women defending themselves against an ex. So, probably a good idea for women to be able to have access to firearms and be able to carry them immediately.
Kind of.
Maybe we should think about constitutional carry being the law of the land all across the fruited plain in this great country.
Maybe.
And that's it, folks. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank my esteemed panel for being here. Night Strike, is there anything you would like to plug? Any words of wisdom you'd like to leave us with?
Shall not be infringed.
Shall not be infringed.
No
Squibs,
fringes.
is there anything you'd like to say, anything you'd like to leave us with?
I just like all the talk of constitutional carry, and I'm kind of glad that you brought up the difference between permitless and constitutional carry. I do agree with you. Language is important, and I think that was a really good point.
Well, thank you, sir. Pickle, is there anything you would like to say? Any plugs you'd like to make?
No, just said, appreciate you having me on, and hopefully I can make it in here more often. I know since you started doing Mondays, my my appearance has been sporadic.
Clint Torres, or was it Clint? Yeah, it says that Moline Acres makes Ferguson look like Malibu, and they pay their cops, no crap, $16 an hour at Moline Acres. I make more than that when I DoorDash. That's crazy. That is crazy, man. Well, I would like to remind you folks that I will be going to South Carolina this week. Matter of fact, I'm leaving Wednesday to attend the gathering at the Sawmill, hosted by Palmetto State Armory. Going to be talking with a bunch of gun companies and whatnot down there. Media Day is on Thursday. I will finally get to meet the fellow member of the Mike Militia, the Night Strike 1 himself, down there. That'll be great to meet him in person. Looking forward to it. And looking forward to making some more contacts and hopefully some more content for you guys. Want to make sure that you guys, particularly in Indiana and Nebraska, contact your Congress critters and elected representatives and let them know what you think. Send them a snail mail, email, telephone, telegraph, carrier pigeon, bicycle messengers, heliograph, smoke signals, anything that you have to do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight. I'll see you guys on the next one.